William de Kooning's body of work spans over 60 years. The artist's evolution went from this to finally this. As you can see, de Kooning's artistic journey was far and wide. But it was during the early 1950s that de Kooning produced arguably his most memorable work in the form of a series of portrait paintings of women. Indeed, the series became known as the Woman Series. And when the first of these paintings debuted, it created quite a stir within the art scene of the day, as well as among the women artists in the art scene of the day, and I suspect among women in general. Before I delve into the responses, theories, and opinions surrounding the series, I'd like to share a little background of de Kooning's story. Willem de Kooning was born April 24th, 1904, in Rotterdam, the Netherlands. As a young man, he received his early training at the Academy of Fine Arts and Applied Sciences in Rotterdam. At the age of 22, he snuck onto a ship that had a stopover in the United States, and upon its arrival, he got off. Soon afterwards, he lived in Manhattan and later joined an artist commune in Woodstock, New York. This was during the 1920s. During the 1930s, he joined the Artists Union and became employed through the Works Project Administration, more commonly known as the WPA, as a muralist. The art movement in the U.S. during the late 1940s and early 1950s saw a monumental shift in the location of the origin of the avant-garde art scene, which was previously located in Paris, France, with art being produced by artists Pablo Picasso, Georges Braque, and others. De Kooning was part of a group of New York artists, among them Arshile Gorky, Jackson Pollock, Martha Rothko, Franz Klein, and others, who left behind the artistic styles of Cubism and Surrealism to create a more spontaneous technique that became known as action painting and more properly known as abstract expressionism. And it is during this period, beginning in 1950, that Willem de Kooning produced his most famous painting, and some would say his most controversial series, that the world has come to know as the Woman Series. I will attempt to investigate and analyze the commentary, past and present, that surround the series and Woman 1, in order to present a view that explains that despite the critical discourse and opinion that has been written about it over the years, using such words as misogynistic, ugly, horrific, that the artist, while creating the series, did not intend for the work to be interpreted in that way. It's easy to see why some would view the results of these paintings as misogynistic and horrific. In Woman 1, you have a figurative painting of a woman, a portrait, if you will, painted with vigorous brushstrokes. Some have described the strokes as violent. One can only imagine the shock value the work had when it was viewed by the art establishment and the public. It's a large painting, at least 6 feet in height, and it confronts the viewer, challenging the concept of the feminine ideal. This painting, and probably the subsequent series, was initially met with quite a bit of criticism. Clement Greenberg, one of the two preeminent art critics of the mid-20th century, the other being Harold Rosenberg, was a staunch supporter of pure abstraction, and he felt that the figure in painting was passé, whereas Rosenberg, who saw de Kooning's return to the figure in his work as groundbreaking in the new movement of action painting. With each new generation of critics, the painting and the series has garnered both supporters and detractors. This year, Deborah Bryan, in her journal article she titled "The Beauty of the Women in Willem de Kooning's Painting," published in the Journal of Analytical Psychology, quotes from art critics Emily Gunnar in 1969 and Philip Kennicott in 2011, as they use words in their essays as like vulgar and lurid. Gunnar's quotes are especially noteworthy as she describes Woman One by saying, quote, "De Kooning flays women. He beats them. He draws and quarters them," unquote. Bryan, however, compliments the work by saying that the painting, in essence, grew on her, albeit slowly, finding, quote, de Kooning's images of women alive and unapologetic, exemplifying the artist's need to take risks and make mistakes, and finding their own authentic voice, and sometimes what emerges is an unexpected result, even for the artist, unquote. Not necessarily a glowing approval of the work, but an attempt to spin the work in a positive light, in her view. There have been numerous articles written, both scholarly and non-scholarly, that attempt to comprehend the underlying psychological aspect to Woman One and the other paintings in the series, trying to delve into the psyche of de Kooning, questioning his relationship with women and his mother and his wife. Observers are even analyzing the mouth and teeth of the paintings and what their meaning could be. De Kooning himself has said that he has a fascination with the mouth because, quote, "we do everything with it," unquote. In 1960, de Kooning had an interview on the BBC with David Sylvester titled "Painting as Self-Discovery." In the interview, de Kooning also had this to say about the way he depicted the mouth in his women series. Quote, "I felt everything ought to have a mouth. I put the mouth more or less where it was supposed to be. It always turned out to be very beautiful. I don't know why I did it with the mouth. Maybe it was the grin, like those Mesopotamian idols standing straight up and looking to the sky with this smile," unquote. With regard to the artist's overall thoughts about how he depicted his subject, he says, quote, "In a way, I feel like I wanted them to be funny and not to look so sad and downtrodden like the women paintings in the 30s. So I made them satiric and monstrous like Sybils." And later, when he was asked about Woman One, he insisted that it was, quote, "hilarious," unquote. De Kooning's ambivalence and fence straddling is evident, and he did this throughout his career. He couldn't escape it, which is why I think he changed his views on the series. What we do know about Willem de Kooning, the man, is that he was raised by an abusive mother, that he and his artist wife Elaine an accomplished artist in her own right, had a turbulent relationship. And it is known that de Kooning, both of them in fact, had many affairs with other men and other women. De Kooning with women, his wife with men, and that he was a womanizer. That fact to me contradicts the notion that he painted through a misogynist lens. I hope to uncover more as I continue to discover more material about the man and the artist that is Willem de Kooning.